Individuals who have been selected, the doors of the station that had previously slammed shut on your frantic requests for assistance are now permanently closed. It is important to remember the dismissive glances, the report that was put away, and the calls that were never returned. Following the conclusion of a comprehensive investigation into allegations of corruption, the same precinct that treated your case as if it were a nuisance has recently had its funds taken away. Residents of the community congregate outside, with some holding banners that contain their own accounts of being neglected, while others simply observe in silent vindication as law enforcement officers clean their desks. Documents from within the organization demonstrate a history of purposefully disregarding certain instances, including ones that are quite similar to yours, while resources are being redirected to other areas. In spite of the fact that the issue becomes public immediately, the rage has been accumulating for years. The event that you have experienced is not an isolated occurrence. Rather, it is a component of a system that ultimately collapses under the weight of its own misbehavior. Unanticipated events can bring about justice. In the present day, it is brought about by cuts to the budget and public outcry. You were the only one who noticed the pattern, while others continued to be oblivious to its existence. Every single report that was submitted by individuals who had a heightened awareness was methodically buried, and every single piece of evidence that was presented by those who had a heightened awareness was purposefully misplaced. Your worries are thought to be without foundation, and your statements are seen to be unreliable. The system that they have developed is designed with surgical precision to suppress the voices that they ought to have paid the most attention to. These documents are now able to speak for themselves. A focused effort against those reporters that they consider to be problematic, the coded language that they use to flag your stories, and the command to minimize contact with those displaying indicators of heightened perception are all revealed in internal documents that have been leaked to daylight. They develop complete protocols with the intention of dismissing you in particular, those individuals whose vision is able to see through their cloak of authority. Desk sergeants are trained to know you just by looking at you, and their computers will prompt them when your name appears. Route to special handling. The term special handling refers to the absence of any handling. It denotes a display of concern, followed by an intentional lack of action. They document your reports with concealed notations, such as subject displays patterns consistent with component placement, but they never finish the sentence, allowing the implication to do the hard job for them. The trend has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the statistical evidence that has been left bare. Complaints from particular neighborhoods have been ignored, reports that contain particular keywords have been hidden, and reports from persons who share your particular attributes have been thoroughly disregarded. Now, in the court of public opinion, they are adamantly condemned because of the algorithm of suppression that they employ against you. This dam has been breached. When it first starts out as a trickle of documents that have been leaked, it quickly becomes a torrent of revelations. Former law enforcement officers who are no longer able to handle the weight of their complicity come forward with testimony that confirms every suspicion you were having. Investigations into internal affairs discover cache trails that lead to compromised interests, evidence tampering, and intimidation of witnesses. The corruption is much more pervasive than you could possibly fathom. The issue extends beyond the typical wrongdoing of law enforcement. A systematic concealment of certain knowledge is being carried out here. The station does not merely disregard reports. Rather, it makes a concerted effort to undermine the credibility of individuals who present particular kinds of information. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull, tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. Why is the question that is being asked everywhere, including at City Hall and on social media. What are they trying to conceal? Who is it that they are guarding? Those journalists who once disregarded you are now waiting outside your door, eager to get their hands on the story that they once disregarded. You are now hearing your truth on primetime broadcasts from the very news anchors who were responsible for your marginalization in the first place. For every new piece of information that comes to light, the public's hunger for justice gets more and more voracious. The hashtag Dare Police Station Defunded is trending all around the country, and your vindication is being broadcast in real time across millions of screens. In front of the microphones, the mayor, who was formerly a staunch supporter of the department, stands with a pale face and announces, "Effective immediately, all funding will be redirected, pending a complete investigation." The police chief resigns in a state of embarrassment. An administrative leave of absence has been granted to 3 deputy chiefs. Internal documents should be protected by the federal government. As a result of the weight of its own corruption, the edifice that was once thought to be invincible is now falling apart. For those who had eyes to see, the signs were always there, flashing like cosmic beacons to bring attention to themselves. It is important to remember the officer who was unable to keep eye contact while taking your report. The subtle shift in body language that occurred as you highlighted specific information, and the way that the atmosphere in the room shifted when you detailed what you saw. None of these were conceived of. You were able to detect their deceit through your viewpoint long before any actual evidence was discovered. You became aware of the fact that particular names elicited obvious responses from the staff, that particular locations mentioned in your reports prompted officers to exchange glances with one another, and that your file was treated in a different manner, being placed aside rather than being processed normally. Your heightened awareness allowed you to pick up on these minute details, while others continued to be unaware of the significance of what they were saying. As you approach the station with new information, the parking lot of police cars has all of a sudden become empty. When you arrive to follow up, you will find that the system has had a service interruption. With a rotating cast of officers assigned to your case, you may rest assured that no single individual will be able to piece together the complete picture. While most people take the theatrical performance of law enforcement at face value, your mind organizes these abnormalities into a classification system. There are security cameras that are purposefully oriented away from particular sections, entrances that should be accessible but are mysteriously closed, and different areas of the station that are constantly being renovated. Even their building is a witness to these things. It is the physical place itself that is intended to be obfuscating and counterproductive. While the inhabitants walk by without looking, you are able to observe the architecture of the obstacle. With the fury of a volcano, the public's reaction manifests itself. Citizens who went by you on the street and disregarded your warnings as the ramblings of overzealous individuals are now in a state of indignation as a result of the disclosure. Overflowing with righteous outrage, their social media profiles are filled with posts like, "Disgusting." They post, "How could something like this occur?" Their indifference allows them to conveniently overlook their own role in the situation. The manifestation of protests is analogous to the convergence of storm fronts on City Hall. The words on the signs are a reiteration of what you have been stating for years. The chanting might have been taken directly from the reports that you have consistently ignored. Once upon a time, the identical words that characterized you as an outsider are now serving as rallying cries for the collective. At a startlingly rapid pace, the financial situation is quickly falling apart. During emergency meetings of the City Council, millions of dollars that were initially designated for the station are reallocated. The budget lines are transferred to the oversight committees that are autonomous. There is a freeze on pension funds pending an investigation. For the purpose of victim compensation, officer pay are transferred. From the core of corruption, the economic repercussions spread outward, affecting everyone who is a part of the system that allows corruption to exist. Those individuals who have risen through the ranks by taking part in repression are now at risk of having their careers wiped out. Notices of termination are issued for promotions that were established on the foundation of the burying of truth. In an instant, the financial stability that they had acquired via their complicity vanishes, leaving their mortgages, vehicle payments, and cash for their children's college education all in a perilous position. Blessed by His grace, click Super Thank You and give $50 to spread His light. Your gift plants seeds that grow His kingdom. Be the blessing. Property that has been seized by the department is subjected to an immediate review. Freezes the assets. The inventories of the equipment are examined. When new authority is added, evidence lockups are sealed. A methodical dismantling of the material apparatus that supported their corrupt behavior is being carried out. Even the physical structure, which was once a monument to authority, is now half empty, and its future is unknown. A gaping zero can be seen in the budget allocations for the upcoming fiscal year, where millions of dollars were previously present. In the meantime, resources are being allocated to new initiatives, such as community monitoring programs, independent review boards, and different technologies that promote openness. The funds that was previously hoarded by those who opposed the reforms is now being allocated to the precise measures that you pushed for. Not every single person who wears the uniform is equally involved in corrupt activities. Some people are more knowledgeable, and they recognize the truth in your reports. When you look into their eyes, you can see the glimmer of recognition and the brief moment of doubt that they have before they disregard your orders to leave. Despite the fact that they have internal objections, these officers are forced to face their own reckoning since their silence indicts them. These small acts of resistance prove to be insufficient against the machinery of suppression. However, they reveal fracture lines within the monolith. For example, the junior officer who secretly photocopies your report before it is lost, the desk sergeant who whispers, "Try the county," when you hit departmental roadblocks, and the detective who accidentally leaves case notes where you might find them are all examples of such activities. These testimonies are now coming to light. One of the officers confesses that they were given instructions to classify certain reports in a different manner. Another individual admits that there was a policy that was not written down regarding particular categories of complaints. Those that ask an excessive amount of questions frequently find themselves working midnight shifts in unfavorable districts. The culture of silence that was maintained through sophisticated intimidation is revealed by a former lieutenant who is now exposed through others who were responsible for maintaining it. Exaggerating their resistance after the fact is something that some people do in an effort to portray themselves as heroes. With the weight of complicity finally becoming intolerable, others succumb to the pressure of being questioned. A select few continue to uphold the code of silence, despite the growing body of evidence against them. Despite the fact that you are not fooled by those who are looking for undeserved salvation, you are aware of the spectrum of guilt, which states that different systems corrupt individuals to differing degrees. Taking advantage of this moment of vindication is the first step toward regaining control of your environment. When circumstances suddenly provide you credibility, you are given a platform that you have been denied for an excessive amount of time. Engage in strategic use of it. The reports that you had previously disregarded now bear the weight of prophecy, which are documented warnings that come before the collapse to occur. It is important to give them the authority that they have always deserved. Knowledge like yours is required by the new agencies that are handling the transition. Confront them not as a supplicant, but rather as a resource that is really necessary. You are in possession of the extensive historical knowledge that they so sorely require. Your record, which has been diligently maintained in spite of pushback from the institution, now serves as a road guide through the corruption. It should be presented in a thorough, chronological, and indisputable manner. When communicating with people who are now in authority, perfect precision is required. It is important to steer clear of using emotive language that could lead people to classify you as someone who is only upset. In your speech, use the calm authority of someone whose perceptions have been validated by the events that have transpired. Make reference to certain dates, case numbers, and individuals who were relevant. The reliability that they initially questioned is demonstrated by the attention to detail that you have shown. During this period of change, make sure to document everything, including names, times, and reactions. Despite the fact that the system reorganizes itself, old habits continue to exist in new forms. Maintain your alertness even as others rejoice in their win before it has even been achieved. You have been shown to be correct, and you have not been rendered irrelevant. There is a significant distance between a single police station and the shockwaves. Institutions that are comparable to one another go through frenetic internal evaluations, hunting for flaws with all their might before they too are exposed. It is clear that they are afraid, as evidenced by their rapid policy changes and proactive transparency attempts. That which is corrupt recognizes itself in those who have fallen. Be sure to keep a watchful eye on the surrounding precincts. Be on the lookout for rapid changes in procedure. Particularly pay attention to sudden announcements of retirement, suspicious transfers, and reassignments. When people with keen eyes look closely, they will see that there are evident irregularities caused by the rush to cover tracks. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull, tap, join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership. It's your calling. When it comes to matters that had been stuck for a while, the courthouse suddenly exhibits efficiency, an unexplained discovery of records that had been reported missing for a number of years. When it comes to topics that they had previously governed with iron grips, judges recuse themselves from the case. Newfound diligence is applied when prosecutors revisit cases that have been rejected. As a single component fails, the symbiotic linkages that exist amongst corrupted systems become apparent, compelling the remaining components to either adapt or be revealed. In the process of transformation, even private institutions that are tied to law enforcement participate. Immediate ethics reviews are carried out by security organizations who have contracts with the police. Reorganization plans have been announced by law firms that specialize in department defense. Compliance procedures that have been updated are disclosed by vendors who supply equipment. When one of the foundational components fails, the ecosystem of corruption shakes with fear. While others continue to miss the connections between the dots, you are able to observe the cascading repercussions. Those who stood in quiet support are now able to find their voices. This includes the attorney who believed you but was unable to show any wrongdoing, the journalist who investigated but was unable to publish without confirmation, and the retired cop who witnessed the event but feared reprisal. With the confidence that comes from being vindicated, they move forward and offer alliance once the personal risk has been reduced. Think carefully about how to evaluate these newly discovered allies. Some people have shown true support for your cause within the confines of their limited capacity, while others have just positioned themselves in a favorable position as the winds may alter. Invitations to form partnerships are now being extended to community organizations that were previously reluctant to connect themselves with your contentious assertions. Candidates for political office are looking for your support. It is requested by advocacy groups that you participate in panels. It is as if the social capital that you have been denied is suddenly abundant. Use discretion while allocating resources, keeping in mind the power of selective alignment. This vindication, despite the fact that it is extremely powerful, is simply one fight in a bigger war for the truth that is still going on. Systems that allowed corruption to occur will make an attempt to regenerate in altered forms. By maintaining your documents, you are acting as a preventative measure against any future censorship. Establish indisputable recordings that will last beyond the memory of individuals and the limited news cycles that are available. Develop procedures for the systematic preservation of evidence, such as digital backups that are stored in different locations, physical paperwork that is accompanied by witness certification, and time-stamped records that may be verified using blockchain technology if it is required. Your goal is to create historical records that cannot be challenged, and the technological tools that were formerly used against you are now serving that objective. Establish protocols for the transmission of information in order to share your expertise with others who are still dealing with the effects of institutional gaslighting. These protocols should include detailed instructions for identifying suppression strategies, procedural outlines for maintaining evidence chains, and strategic approaches for navigating hostile settings. A vaccination against the virulent falsehood that you went through can be administered to others through the dissemination of your hard-won information. There is a significant shift that takes place in the collective awareness. Temporarily, the veil becomes thinner. While you were experiencing heightened awareness, what you perceived became suddenly visible to the general public. There is a possibility that this window of recognition will be short. Make the most of it. Your position, which has been vindicated, provides you with temporary power in the aftermath of the shocking disclosure. Right now, the accountability system that you envisioned is beginning to take shape in its embryonic form. For the purpose of community representation, oversight committees frequently include positions. Bypassing the typical gatekeepers, reporting channels are utilized. With the implementation of transparency rules, the shadows that fostered corruption are eradicated. Policymakers are now giving serious thought to the architecture of your ideas, which have been advocated for quite some time. In the past, your vision was considered extreme. Nonetheless, it now looks to be prophetically accurate. You go from being an isolated truth-teller to being acknowledged as a wisdom keeper as your role develops. The media views you as an authoritative voice on systemic corruption, and those who have experienced similar dismissal are looking to you for assistance. Institutions that are pursuing change, on the other hand, are requesting your consultation. To successfully navigate these opportunities, smart discernment is required. There are objectives beyond your own personal validation that your heightened platform provides. There is more to the cosmic significance than just a single station that has been defunded. One of the visible manifestations of a universal balancing is represented here. In spite of the fact that they appear to be dormant for extended periods of time, the scales of justice eventually reach a state of balance. Your willingness to persevere in the face of skepticism and rejection served a more important purpose than individual vindication. Your consistent presentation of the truth creates pressure against falsity, and this pressure continues until the systems are unable to hold the contradiction anymore. You carry out the role of a cosmic catalyst. Although vindication is immediately satisfying, purpose is something that lasts forever. Rather from serving as an end, the confirmation that you are currently experiencing serves as a renewed beginning. The obligation for maintaining vigilance is something that comes along with the credibility that is obtained via established perception. A reconfiguration attempt will be made tomorrow for the systems that were exposed today. Initial detection of their corruption was made by your awareness. It is imperative that it maintains the same level of sensitivity to their attempt at resurrection. Indeed, the attention span of the general people is notoriously short. It is inevitable that the outrage that is currently centered on the failure of institutions will eventually shift toward new controversies. Your continued attention helps to maintain the pressure that is necessary for significant reform, even when the cameras shift their focus elsewhere and hashtags become less prominent. You perceive only the beginning of a profound transition, whilst other people see a story that has been completed. It is possible that the officers who are displaced as a result of the defunding would look for work elsewhere, which could lead to the introduction of corrupt practices into other departments. Keep an eye on their movements and take note of their new connections. In addition to operating beyond the geographical limitations of a single station, the suppression network also operates. The individuals who exhibit obvious symptoms are connected to a more profound systemic condition, which necessitates ongoing diagnosis and treatment. Your enhanced perception is a witness to both the triumph and the incessant struggle that you are experiencing. It is important to celebrate vindication without letting go of vigilance. It is important to maintain judgment in accepting alliances, maintain a record of victory while making preparations for prolonged struggle. There is no one justice that can adequately describe the cosmic duty that has been assigned to you. It is important to note that the station that was defunded today is just one battle in a larger war for truth that goes beyond a temporary victory. The material implications, which include defunding, resignations, and probes, are only surface symptoms of a more profound spiritual realignment underlying the situation. It is outside the realm of physical limitation that the cosmic forces that are converging to create this moment of justice operate. During the time when the material proof was concealed, your connection to these universal currents made it possible for you to survive. Your vindication is now contextualized within a greater spiritual significance thanks to the same relationship. Those who disregarded your reports did not take into account the spiritual aspects of their wicked behavior. Despite the fact that they had temporarily inflated their material strength by deception, they were unable to withstand the universal law that demanded final equilibrium. The cosmic laws that transcend human institutions are the source of the justice that is manifested through the channels of bureaucracy. At the same time as others see this relationship as nothing more than organizational dysfunction, you realize it.